Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us for our discussion with current University of Manitoba students. I'm joined today by Disha, Simran, and Haley. We're going to be talking a little bit about what your students need to know before they come to university. So why don't we start off with a little few introductions. We can kind of hear from our students about where they're from, current year of study, and what their plans are moving forward. So why don't we start with you, Disha?
Sure. So my name is Disha Malhotra. I'm a third year student at the University of Manitoba. I'm pursuing my honors degree in genetics with a minor in chemistry. And I recently got into the co-op program, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of my degree.
Awesome. Thanks, Disha. Over to you, Haley.
Hi there, my name is Haley. I'm originally from Winnipeg. I'm in my second year at the University of Manitoba, and I'm currently in the Faculty of Science, majoring in psychology.
Great. Thanks, Haley. And last but not least, Simran.
Okay, I'll round it out. So just like Disha and Haley, I'm also in the Faculty of Science. I'm currently in the fourth year of my degree, and I am studying microbiology.
Awesome. Thanks, Simran. So, one of the things that our counselors often like to know about is why you chose to come to the U of M. So, can you maybe walk us through what some of your decision-making criteria was when you were actually selecting a university, and maybe how that led you to ultimately choose the U of M? So, why don't we start with you, Disha?
So as I said, I'm an international student. I come from India, and the main decision that I had to take was to which country to travel to. Then we decided that I'll be coming to Canada. And in Canada, there are a lot of universities, but what I thought was the best thing about the University of Manitoba is that it's a research intensive university, and the courses that were offered by the university fell in harmony with what I wanted to do. And that's what excited me about the University of Manitoba. And I decided that I'll be coming to Winnipeg and study here. Also, another thing is that the location of the university is in a very safe environment. So as an international student, that was one of my concerns, that I want to go somewhere that's calm and where I can study and live easily. So that was another thing that helped me make the decision of coming to Winnipeg and the University of Manitoba.
Awesome. Yeah. How about you, Haley, being a student from Winnipeg? What was your decision making?
Yeah, so I took into consideration places that would allow me to grow as an individual, as well as the pros and cons of staying home versus going away to a different university in Canada, potentially. And I also wanted to be able to keep doing what I love, so both science and sport as a student athlete, and had hopes of getting involved. And so I feel like a place at the, or like a place at the University of Manitoba, I feel like it would give me those opportunities that I might not have somewhere else, because the University of Manitoba is somewhat on the smaller side versus one of those bigger universities. And on top of being fortunate enough to earn entrance scholarships to the University of Manitoba, I ultimately chose here because it not only felt like the right fit, but because I knew that it would be a place where I could excel both academically and athletically.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for that. Yeah, lots of things that you touched on there, right? Like scholarship support is a big one. And making the choice whether to go out of province or stay at home, right, is a big one for a lot of students. So, how about you, Simran?
Yeah, so a few things that Haley and Disha touched on definitely apply to me. I think towards the end of high school for me, I was still generally uncertain about the path I wanted to take. I had friends who were very certain about what they wanted to do. I knew someone who was headed off to an Ontario university to study neuroscience. So that wasn't me. I still needed some time to do some exploring and to figure out what it is that I wanted to do and how that, really, and how that would play out in the next couple of years. And I ultimately decided that the safest place to do this exploration was at home in Winnipeg. So I am from Winnipeg. I've lived here for most of my life. And I thought, okay, if I'm going to be doing all of this discovering of myself and discovering of the sciences, best do it when, I have the watchful eye of the wonderful city that I grew up in. So that's really what led me to choosing the University of Manitoba. And I knew what I did know that I wanted to study was biology, and they have a wonderful biology program. The Department of Biological Science is excellent here, and you can choose choose one of all of the different focuses that they offer. And all of that really melded together, and I thought, okay, I'm staying at home. I'm staying at the University of Manitoba. And my choice was really reinforced by, like Haley said, all of the wonderful entrance scholarships that I had received towards the end of my high school experience and going into university. So that was really how I ended up making my decision to stay.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And we do actually have a video up on our website as well, specifically about entrance scholarships as well. It's a conversation with Jane Lastra, who's the Director of Financial Aid and Awards. So check that out if you do have any questions around some of the scholarship support that we do offer. So kind of to go back to this decision-making question, were there any kind of resources that you found were helpful when you were kind of working through that process of figuring out what university to go to? Maybe I'll throw this one over to Haley first.
Sure. So I guess while in grade 12, I found the planning process to involve a lot of learning on your own and research. And so, for example, I attended a university fair where I got to talk to different representatives of universities across Canada. And I found that very helpful to talk to some like people in person and really get like a feel for how the university is and how the community kind of makes it feel. And then I also did a lot of research on my own time to see what like different universities offered across Canada, including their academic programs, financial aid and awards, and community aspects and opportunities. I also found it very useful to have somewhat of a support team consisting of like family and friends and school staff. It was just really helpful to have those people there so that you could kind of talk through it with them throughout the process. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, being able to point students towards resources like a viewbook and a website, and especially pages on those websites that are tailored for prospective students, especially, is a great way to help your students because there's so much info out there, and a lot of
yeah,
universities have these same types of resources. So, we try to promote our U of M resources, right? But you need to look at those in the context of what other universities offer as well, right? So
and I'll add that the first year planning guide was very useful to me. That kind of broke down all the degrees and paths you could take at the U of M. So
yeah, for sure. And that's a great resource just because it does sort of, for anybody unfamiliar with it watching, it does break out our degree programs and shows you kind of exactly what types of courses you'd be taking for a degree in something in the sciences or maybe something like architecture or social work. Kind of gives you a bit of an overview of what you should be planning for in that first year. So, yeah, great resource. How about you, Simran?
So similar to what Haley was saying, I did attend, I think, a couple of the open houses offered by either the university or a specific faculty at the beginning of, well, not the beginning of high school, of university in my grade 12 year. So I do remember sort of being in the multi-purpose rooms at the university and going to all of the different booths and just getting a sense of, just nobody's helping you choose your degree path at that point, but just having that simple conversation with someone really gets your brain going and starts to veer you in different directions. So I do recommend that that's something that prospective students do take part in. Interesting that you mentioned the view books, Kyle. I do remember looking through a couple of the view books of the universities, and I think that's just such a great resource because it's quick information and it gives you a general representation of a university and what it has to offer rather than the minute details. And I think at the beginning, when you're really just starting your search, you don't want to be bogged down with all the details. You just want general senses. And very quickly, I think you'll find that you've established sort of this gut feeling about which universities you think are for you and which ones are not. Okay, so this is not just a me problem. I see both Haley and Disha nodding. Yeah, you do get a sense of what you like and what you don't like very quickly. And once you have that, then it's time to go to specific resources like the first year planning guide, any of the faculty websites. Once you've decided more what you want, then you go down those paths that lead you to the finer details about a university. So that's kind of how I approached it.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. And we will have some events like what, Haley and Simran have talked about this fall for students as well. We have a virtual open house coming up at the end of October. That's a great opportunity to kind of be able to chat with people and ask some questions directly to people who are involved with the programs, because we do know that that really helps our students with their decision making. Still kind of on the topic of resources, but maybe more in the context of when you're here at university and using, U of M has lots of different resources available to students, so many, in fact, that a lot of people sometimes don't even know about them. So why don't we go to you, Disha, for this one? Is there any resources that you found particularly helpful as a student at U of M that you think are really good for maybe for our counselor audience to know about?
I do relate with Simran and Haley when they say that there is a lot of information online. And you too mentioned that our website has all the information that any student might need to navigate their degree through, throughout the years. So one needs to keep in mind to not get lost in all the information that's there. We need to, stay focused on what we are navigating through. It's just like a map. So we first need to decide the faculty you want to go in, and then go through with the courses that are being offered, with the subjects that are being taught. And then, so it's just a step-by-step way that one goes through the website. And videos are another thing that helps students a lot. And there are a ton of videos online by the University of Manitoba and by the faculty, staff, and so many people. So that's one thing that students could definitely benefit from. Some of the websites that I use, some of the links and tools that I use the most was the academic calendar. So that was like my Bible in the very first year that I, went through it, my degree, my specific thing that I wanted to do. So I had all the courses outlined that, okay, this is the course that I need to take in the first semester. Then following in the second semester, these are the courses that I need to cover it then. So academic calendar, and definitely the Jump portal. It has all of the tools and websites over there. So that's something that makes navigating a little easier. That's what I thought.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for that, and thanks for mentioning the academic calendar too, because that's something that sometimes gets lost in the push of resources. And I do actually think people in schools and counselors especially would find the academic calendar helpful, largely because it's been improved a lot in the last year. That was definitely a bit of a tough resource to navigate before. It's very detailed. It basically has all of the detail around all of the degree programs the U of M offers. So while something like the first year planning guide sort of zeroes in more on specifically year one, the academic calendar really talks about everything you need to know about the degree as a whole, and all the requirements for graduating. So it is a more detailed resource, but it is very, very useful. And it has been improved a lot in this last while in terms of ease of navigation and things like that. How about you, Simran?
And so in my first year, I think it's one of the programs that and resources that really helped me at the university was the new student peer mentorship program. So any peer mentorship program, not just that one specifically. I think there's a couple that the university through various offices organizes, and these peer mentorship programs are awesome. So basically the design is that, just like what you'd expect, you as a first year student are matched up with an upper year student in their second, third, fourth year, what have you. And this sort of becomes one of your little lifelines at the university. So this person was so amazing. She was a science student, and she was always just a text away. So whenever I had questions, I would just send her a little text message, and I'd get a response back very, very quickly. And not just that, it sort of becomes this person at the university who has gone through the exact same thing that you have. They're very good with your anxiety. They're very good with sort of dealing with some of your anxieties because they've experienced the exact same thing. So I would really push for students to sign up for any of the peer mentorship programs, and you really can just Google peer mentorship and U of M, and there you are, and you'll get this roll of stuff coming up. I think maybe Disha's going to mention an international student version of it, so I'm going to pause for a second and let her go. Yeah.
So I was just thinking about how someone was talking about the peer mentor program. So me and my friend, we were just talking about the same thing a couple of days back there, and my friend was like, "Yeah, when we came to university, we were the mentees. Now he's become a mentor. So he's like, now it's the transition phase going on, and now we get to like feel both the sides of you know being a mentor, being a mentee, and definitely it helps a lot, especially if you're struggling in a course. So that is one of the best things to go through.
No, I definitely hear what you're saying, Disha. I was a new student in the program. Now I'm a mentor, and that just how that transition happened so quickly. And I think it speaks to the fact that you will not always be lost at the university. You will find your feet. It will get better for you. I think students feel like, oh, it's such a big place. There's so many people. I'll never get it. No, that's not the case. You will learn things each year. You will learn not only in your classes, but just about the university structure as a whole. And, having this new student to mentor transition really illustrates that. But sort of touching back to the topic of resources, another resource that I really used in my time at the university is career services. So with career services, it's this wonderful tool that really connects students with application of their degrees and sort of seeking careers after you've completed your degree. And for me, that meant attending a couple of resume writing workshops and interview workshops where they really work on these skills with you. I mean, with your resume, it's such an important document and one that you really need to perfect. And I think doing it through career services with their guiding hand is just amazing. So that's a service I would really urge students to use. And I think in your if that maybe that's something that becomes more important in later years, but in your first year, where career services becomes so wonderful, is it gives you a sense of what you can do with your degree, right? You've gotten this microbiology degree like I have, like what can you do with it? And they have reams and reams of lists and ideas about what to explore and sort of the types of career paths that you can take with your degree. And those are really wonderful, I think, for first year students to explore.
Yeah, absolutely. Both of those are fantastic resources. Peer mentoring, really important, of course, right? An opportunity to kind of connect with students, just like the three of you, to get some advice and hear from experience, right? And career services, yeah, fantastic resource. The Career Compass is a great resource that kind of walks students through their degree. With less detail perhaps than the academic calendar, but more in the context of employment opportunities and what's going to be waiting for you at the end of that degree. So it sort of talks about what you can be doing in year one, year two, year three to be as job ready as possible, and what some of those job outcomes will be when you graduate with your degree. So a lot of new students that are considering the university, we do encourage them to go and check some of those out because it's a really great planning tool as well. Likewise, Career Services does offer a lot of resources that counselors can use to work with students. So, if you do have people coming to you and asking questions about, what can they do to be, working in these various professions or, what they should be looking for in the context of a university degree if they're planning to, work in this type of employment after they graduate, some really good resources there, and we do have links to all of those on our counselor website for you to be able to easily find them. Switching gears a little bit, we wanted to talk a little bit about maybe the one thing you know about university now that you wished you knew when you were in high school. So why don't I start with Haley for this one?
This is a good question. I couldn't narrow down to one specifically, but I kind of have three top things that I came up with. So, first, it might seem like a big step from high school, but know that you're not alone. There are thousands of students that are in the same boat as you, and the University of Manitoba provides several supports that will help you throughout your first year and your entire undergrad or degree, however many degrees you get. And then second, I have found that university is a lot more than just being a student. University and learning at this level gives you the opportunity to discover what you're actually interested in and dive deeper into what you love. And I've really enjoyed being able to do that as a student at the University of Manitoba. And third, university professors want their students to learn and do well. They want to make the most best experience possible, and they aren't trying to scare you away. They're really trying to support you in whatever you do. So
Awesome. Thanks for that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, our professors aren't scary people. They do want to work with our students and want what's best for them, and a lot of them are really approachable, and we hope that our students have great relationships with their profs when they come to university, and a lot of them do. So, how about you, Disha?
So when I was starting off, definitely I looked through the academic calendar, however hard it might have been, but my academic advisor helped me a lot to choose my courses and go through with it. Another thing that is helpful is going on Aurora and finding the course structure, because that's something that we ignore when we are starting off our university journey. But courses are something that we need to keep in mind, and we need to maintain a balance every semester. I had a very challenging semester once because of this situation, that I did not refer to what courses I was taking. One needs to make sure there's a balance of hard and easy courses in order to succeed. And I learned my way through it. In the second semester, I had a very tough time. But eventually, in the third, fourth semester, I understood that, okay, if I'm taking a more writing intensive course, then I need to take something that, cuts that out and helps me manage my time more. So for that, reading the course outlines and the course structure beforehand, it's better. And talking to academic advisors is definitely very, very helpful in this context.
Yeah, I know knowing your limits is a big thing, right? And knowing what type of student you are, how much you're comfortable taking on, that's a lot easier said than done too, right? Sometimes it's hard to know that even until you get into university and start experiencing some of that. So yeah, great advice there. The more research you can be doing around the courses and maybe what they involve or how intensive they may be, will certainly help you when you get to university. And knowing that there's people who can help you with that process too, right? Academic advisors. A lot of students don't know necessarily that academic advisors exist, especially when they're in high school. So, knowing that that resource is out there, that there's people at the university who can kind of help you through this process and help your schedule, help you manage that in a way that's going to be, comfortable for you and allow you to kind of work at the pace that's most suitable for you. Yeah, that's really good advice. How about you, Simran?
Okay. This was, I remember how I felt at the start of university quite vividly. And that's because at the start I was very, very anxious. I loved my high school. I had, built this amazing community for myself. I know not only loved my classes, I also loved the people in it. And I had built this sort of community. And I felt that this was something that I was never going to be able to recreate at the university. I don't know where I got the idea, but very quickly I ingrained in my head that I was just going to be, this very little fish in this huge ocean that is the University of Manitoba. And that's not the case. And that is what I wish I had known. I You are able to create the sense of community, and it happens very quickly. At the end of my first year I had already felt that, I was secure in where I was, and I knew the direction I wanted to go, and I knew what people were going to sort of help me along the way. And that was an amazing feeling. But I just wish I had known earlier at the university that all of this was possible. That really would have eased my anxieties. And so my advice to, students, and I would sort of be that the university feels like a big city, but it's kind of really a small town, right? Many of the people that you meet are reoccurring, and there's so many ways and so many threads that connect us all. So all of this really should keep you calm. And it's easier said than done, but just keep it in the back of your mind. It really will help.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Great advice from all three of you there. So what do you think is maybe the best advice that a high school counselor, somebody that works with students, could maybe give to a student that is considering coming to the University of Manitoba? If they had to, give one piece of advice to a student that's really considering the U of M, what would be really helpful, do you think, for that student to be hearing from a counselor, somebody helping them make that decision? Why don't we go to Haley for this one?
I would say that despite its size, the University of Manitoba holds big potential for students interested in every area. And like I touched on earlier, this university provides opportunities that might not be able to be experienced elsewhere.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Simran, anything to add?
Yeah, I would just really urge, students and counselors to explore the extracurricular activities that are present at the university, as well as the coursework. And you sort of have to explore these extracurricular activities early on in your university experience. Don't wait till third, fourth, maybe even second year. Have a sense of this in your first year, and maybe even start exploring it in high school. I think we have this idea that the coursework and your classes are all that really matters. Anything else is a distraction that we need to ignore. That's definitely not the case, and I think it's anything but what's going on. I believe that it's definitely these outside of the lecture hall experiences that'll really add to the richness of your time at the university. And I think this is something that it would be beneficial for counselors and students to explore together. What are all the experiences you can gain outside of the 50 or 75 minutes that you're in a lecture hall?
Yeah, totally. Because it's all about what your student experience is going to be, right? The academic component of it is, of course, really, really important, and you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can to get those professional outcomes that you want down the road. But the journey as you go is really important too, right? So, and we always say at U of M, we think that the size of our community is actually to our advantage because there's so much that you can get involved in that you maybe don't have available to you at some smaller institutions, right? Not to say anything about the quality of the education that you get at those other institutions, but we like to think that having a big, diverse student population and lots of programs and lots of space available to people and lots of events and services and supports, that all really goes a long way to helping to enhance the student experience. So with that being said, I want to thank our students for joining us today for this discussion. Appreciate you giving your time to talk to our counselors today, and hope all three of you have a really great school year ahead. So thanks for watching, everybody. Our website does have a lot of links to the resources that were discussed in our discussion today. So if you do want to find more information about some of the things we talked about today, head to umanitoba.ca/counselors. Got a lot of good information for our high school partners there. So thanks again to Haley, Disha, and Simran for your time today. Appreciate your insight. And thanks again, everybody, for watching. Take care. Bye now.